Speaker, my question is to the Minister for Arts, Culture and Heritage and asks, what is the status of the New Zealand Memorial Park project in Buckle Street, Wellington?
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Yes, the project is in the planning stage. The New Zealand Transport Agency is working with both central and local government to investigate Memorial Park improvements and will be undertaking full public consultation as part of the Basin Reserve improvement investigations. This government's also taking the time to consult with Mount Cook School, the RSA and the local community, and this approach contrasts with that of the previous government, which wrote to Mount Cook School in August 2008 saying it didn't consider it appropriate for the school or the wider Mount Cook community to have any input into the decision-making process.
The Honourable Rick Barker.
Mr. Speaker, does the Minister accept that seeing what resembles an abandoned tip immediately after placing a flower on the tomb of the unknown warrior is a national disgrace? And what action is he taking to complete the work for a respectful memorial to those who gave their lives for this country? And now, Minister, is the right time to do the right thing.
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
I agree with the member that it is a national disgrace, and that is why last week, for example, when I was meeting with a representative from Mount Cook School, I was discussing some preparatory work like asphalt removal. I agree with what the member said, that we have to get on with it, but as I've said before to that member, we're not going to do it in some half-baked manner. It's going to be done properly.
Hekia Parada.
To the Minister, what reports has he seen about the development of Memorial Park?
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Yes, I've seen reports that the previous government said it was not appropriate for the local school or the Mount Cook community to have input into the decision-making process. I've seen reports that the Labor candidate for Wellington Central in 2008, Grant Robertson, tried to get the government to reconsider that decision but was told where to go. And I've seen correspondence stating that the ex-minister refused to sign off on the design and wanted to revisit options.
Supplementary question.
Grant Robertson.
Can the Minister confirm that a design for the park that was acceptable to the Wellington City Council, central government and the local school was agreed late last year, and that his reason for not taking that option up is simply, as he told one person, that he did not want to do something just because it was Helen Clark's idea?
The Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Well, that would be a very good reason not to do anything that... But I can confirm that there was a plan. The plan is not acceptable. Further work needs to be done. Further consultation needs to be done. And it's going to be done.
Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave of the House to table Cabinet Minute 0913/8(62), which says that the Memorial Park project has been cancelled.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Question number 11, Shane Ardern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Agriculture. What recent reports has the government seen on the meat sector?
The Hon David Carter.
Mr. Speaker, last week I had the pleasure of launching Meat the Future, a comprehensive meat sector study published by the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry. This study lays out the challenges and opportunities confronting our $4.6 billion a year meat sector and maps out the potential shape the sector may take into the future. The report will play a key role in developing a shared vision for New Zealand's meat sector.
Shane Ardern.
Supplementary question to the Minister of Agriculture. What has been the government's response to the study?
The Hon David Carter.
Mr. Speaker, the government has welcomed the report and the various challenges that it presents. We have made it clear that industry players and farmers need to work together to improve the sector and that doing nothing is not an option. Very simply, we see this report as a call to action that cannot be ignored. As such, following the launch, I convened a meeting of industry leaders to look at ways of progressing reform and to address the issues that currently hinder this important sector.
The Honourable Jim Anderson.
Mr. Speaker, in the recent MAF report on opportunities and challenges for the New Zealand sheep, meat and beef sector over the next 10 to 15 years, was the top priority
after, quote, overall farm profitability, end quote, investment in research and development? And if so, how was that helped by cutting the $2 billion public and private sector Fast Forward Fund and replacing it with a puny $70 million annually appropriated Primary Production Fund?
The Honourable David Carter.
Mr Speaker, R&D was certainly recognised in the meat sector report as absolutely critical, and in the meeting I had later with industry leaders, they congratulated this government for its vision in promoting the Primary Growth Partnership, an initiative that is substantially bigger than the previous government's Fast Forward Fund.
Shane Ardern.
Supplementary to the Minister of Agriculture, why is the government not doing more to progress meat sector reform?
The Honourable David Carter.
Mr Speaker, change in the meat industry will only be lasting if it is driven from within the sector. It is not the government's job to tell the sector what to do. Rather, I have very strongly urged industry players and farmers to work together to deliver the higher returns to the sector, and as I've already said, the status quo is not acceptable. I am now working closely with major players in the sector to discover and establish exactly how the government can constructively facilitate this change.
The Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Following the release of the report, does the government intend to honour the $200 million suspensory loan promised for the meat industry reform by the leader of the National Party, John Key, and supported by his finance spokesman, Bill English, in February of last year before the election, or was that just another promise that they had no intention of ever keeping?
The Honourable David Carter.
Mr Speaker, I thank that member for his question and take this opportunity of welcoming Labor's fresh blood back to the House. Can I say that under no circumstances did this party ever promise a $2 million suspensory loan to the meat sector? We are, however, prepared to entertain proposals that are put to us that constructively move the sector forward.
Point of order, the Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Thank you. I seek leave to table report from the Southland Times dated the 15th of February 2008, where Mr Key quickly told Mr
Order.
English, I've just committed you to a suspensory loan, and Mr English replied, as long as it's under $200 million, I don't mind.
Order. Is this a press report the member is seeking to table from the Southland Times when?
Yes, it is, of February the 15th, 2008.
February 15, 2008, Southland Times press report. Leavers sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is objection.
Oh,
the Honourable Jim Anderton.
Order.
The Honourable Jim Anderton.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker. Has the Minister seen in the MAF report the finding that the #1 issue for meat farmers is farm profitability? If so, how is farm profitability helped by the total exposure to overseas-owned banks of $44,000 million? And will he support a select committee inquiry into bank profits in order to hold the banks to account for refusing to lower their interest rates on that debt by anywhere near as much as the OCR has dropped?
The Honourable David Carter.
Mr Speaker, yes, I have seen the #1 concern being ongoing farm profitability, and I am aware of the significant growth in farm debt over the last 5 years. It is something that this government is concerned about and have had on 2 occasions regular meeting with the bank industry as we discuss that issue.